Hi. Every now and again I get people asking me how to study ASR. And I sort of hate this question because it assumes that there's a single way of studying. And everybody studies differently. So the idea that we should all do it the same way is probably a little bit inappropriate. But firstly, I guess it's probably important for you to know what resources are available. So I assume you have the textbook, right? That's easy to purchase online. I gave you instructions for that on Canvas and in the first class, so you should be fine with that. You also notice that the workshops in this subject are lecture style, so you will have lecture slides that are generally, well, the whole semester ones are already up on Canvas, but from time to time I might actually make some changes, and when I do, I'll let you know a few days in advance that the ones for the given lecture have changed. The lectures are video recorded, and if you want to jump ahead, not much of the material has changed in the last 2 to 3 years. So lecture recordings from prior semesters are on Canvas. So you can jump ahead and watch those. And that might actually, I don't know, it might help you coming into the lecture to know what to expect and what questions you want to have resolved. In terms of practice, technical and theoretical practice, we've got the self-study questions and solutions. So the questions both for self-study and tutorials are in the textbook. The solutions for the self-studies are in the subject pack. The solutions for the tutorials are not in the subject pack, and the idea there is you come along to the tutorial and you engage. I mean, you learn better when you're struggling with something and you know what the problem is you want to resolve, because then your mind is actively looking for an answer, as opposed to being given an answer and sort of you have a temptation to say, oh, I would have got that. Don't forget that we, the staff, particularly me, because I'm full-time, I'm available for consultations. And don't stress over that. Don't think it's some formal thing. Just give me a yell, and I'll organise either a Zoom link up or you can come in and chat to me. And that's what we're here for. And to be absolutely honest, as an academic, that's one of the things I've started missing in the last few years. Up until about 5 or 6 years ago, we had a lot of students coming to talk to us about issues that they're having. Nobody loves me. Nobody comes to talk to me. The other thing, of course, are the videos by Peter Wells that are short little videos. They're under each topic on Canvas, and they go through sometimes through technical material, sometimes through some theoretical material. So those are the resources that are available to you. Now, in terms of how you would study, well, as I've already said, everybody does study differently. So I'm just giving you an example of how I would study. And this is very particular to my personality. This might not suit you, right? And in fact, let me say that if the textbook doesn't really gel with you, there are other textbooks that cover the material in this subject. And, feel free to go and have a look. Anyway, so read the textbook. My view is generally I hate the textbook, and it's not this textbook, but I hate reading textbooks because sometimes I don't really see the point. But when I first read the textbook, what I actually do with it is I like to see the lie of the land. I like to get a big picture of what's going on, so that way when I go into the lecture, I sort of know what he's talking about. And also I may actually have some questions from the textbook. I didn't understand, so that'll cause me to listen a little bit more carefully when I go into the lecture. Take note of what the lecturer says. I mean, look, this is the way I did it. When I was an undergrad, we didn't have PowerPoints, and I actually found that a lot more useful because you were actively listening instead of passively looking at slides up in front of you. So what I would basically say if I went to a lecture now is I would actually take notes of what the lecturer is saying, and I'd ignore the PowerPoints, except for the ones where, there's some layout with numbers and stuff. After the class, what I generally would do is rewrite the lecture notes. This, because clearly when you're writing them in class, they end up being a mess. But it also helps me order the concepts and the ideas in my mind. And, I was sort of one of these guys that did pretty little red underlines and stuff, the little diagrams. So the concepts the act of writing it out helped embed the concepts into my head. Okay, what would I do next? I do the self-study questions. The cool thing about the self-study questions is it actually tests whether you have the knowledge you think you have. And if you don't, and that's what usually happens, you don't. You say, oh God, how do I do this? And when you then turn to the textbook and lecture notes, you're no longer consuming the textbook passively as, oh, this is so boring, I can't handle it. You're actively looking for an answer to a question. And what that basically means is that you will engage better with the material. And, if the textbook doesn't answer your question, look at Peter Wells's videos on Canvas. They're up there topic by topic. Then check your self-study solutions. Work out what you did wrong. Go to the textbook, the slides, the videos to work out why I stuffed up. And then do the tute questions. Now, with the tute questions, you don't have solutions, but you'd go into the class, you go into the tutorial. You're an active learner because you know where you've got problems. So you're going to listen a different way than just passively consuming the material. Okay, now that's how I would study. This might not suit you. You might be the sort of person that goes to lecture first, then reads textbook to fill in the gaps. It's up to you. There is no right way. We all have different personalities, and that's why we have all these different resources, because we know that not everything will suit everyone. Anyway, I hope that's of some use. Let me know what you think.